Good morning, students. In last class, we have discussed about your first lesson, the living world. In today's class, let us discuss about second lesson, that is biological classification. So this is your chapter number 2 from first PUC biology syllabus. In this lesson, we have to study about different contents, that is 2.1 Kingdom Monera, 2.2 Kingdom Protista, 2.3 Kingdom Fungi, 2.4 Kingdom Plantae, 2.5 Kingdom Animalia, 2.6 viruses, viroids and lichens. So you are supposed to study these content from this lesson. Okay, before discussing these things, we have to understand about classification of living organisms. That is what we call it as a biological classification. Okay, in the beginning, how the classification of living organisms are done? The classification of living organisms are done in a unscientific manner in their own ways. Different scientists and different naturalists have classified living organisms into different groups. Among them, Aristotle was the earliest to classify living organisms on more scientific basis. Aristotle was the earliest man who classified living organisms into different groups, that is based on scientific observations. Okay, Aristotle classified all plants into 3 groups. He classified plants into 3 groups. One is called as herbs, and another one is called as shrubs, and next one is called as trees. So like this, Aristotle classified plants into 3 groups. This classification is mainly based on their morphological characters. Children, you may be knowing about these things and you might have studied these words in your lower classes. What are herbs, what are shrubs, and what are trees? Okay, generally, in this way, Aristotle classified plants into these three groups based on their morphological characteristics. And similarly, he classified animals into 2 groups. Animals are classified into 2 groups by the Aristotle. One is animals with red blood, and another one is animals without red blood. So in this way he has made some classification, and he has given us some basis for the further classification of living organisms. So it has become basis for the future classification of living organisms. In this way, the earliest attempts were made for the classification of living organisms. And after this, Okay, 5 kingdom systems of classifications were proposed. Let us understand what is that 5 kingdom systems of a classification. Okay, 5 kingdom systems of classification. 5 kingdoms. 5 kingdoms are 5 kingdom systems of classification. Five kingdom systems of classification of living organisms. So now, in which first one is 2 kingdom system. 2 kingdom systems of classification. 2 kingdom system. In this 2 kingdom system, entire living organisms, all the living organisms are divided into 2 different kingdoms. One is called as Plantae and another one is called as Animalia. So these are the 2 kingdoms. Complete living organisms which are present on the earth, they are all divided into 2 groups. And this system of classification was first given by a naturalist or biologist known as Carolus Linnaeus. Carolus Linnaeus, which is very important from the point of need. Okay, so this is important from the point of need. Okay, so Carolus Linnaeus, who gave the 2 kingdom systems of classification, who proposed these 2 kingdom systems of classification, and he divided entire living world into 2 groups. One is called as a Plantae and another one is called as Animalia. In Plantae, what kind of organisms are included, that you should understand, and it includes all the organisms. It includes bacteria, all microorganisms. Okay, it includes fungi, it includes algae, it includes bryophyta, bryophytes, pteridophytes, gymnosperms, and angiosperms. All the organisms, all these organisms were included under kingdom Plantae. Next, kingdom Animalia, it includes all the animals. All the animals. Okay, it includes all the animals. What is the main basis for this kind of a classification of living organisms? So Carolus Linnaeus thought that for all these organisms, their cells are covered by cell wall. What is the criteria to unite all these organisms into one group? That is presence of a cell wall for all these. Presence of a cell wall. These organisms have got cell wall and these animals do not have cell wall. Therefore, animals are all included under a separate kingdom, and all these organisms which possess cell wall, and they are all included under kingdom Plantae. So in this way, first 2 kingdom systems of classification was proposed by Carolus Linnaeus. But this system has several drawbacks. Drawbacks of this classification. Drawbacks. What are the different drawbacks of this classification? Okay, just if you think here, these are the prokaryotic organisms, these are the eukaryotic organisms, all prokaryotic and eukaryotic organisms, prokaryotic and eukaryotic organisms were included in the same kingdom, and they were not differentiated here. Prokaryotic and eukaryotic organisms were not differentiated. Similarly, there were some photosynthetic algae, bryophyte, pteridophytes, gymnosperms. These are all photosynthetic. Fungi is non-photosynthetic organism which were not differentiated. Okay, photosynthetic and non-photosynthetic organisms. Photosynthetic and non-photosynthetic organisms were not differentiated in this classification, and all unicellular and multicellular organisms, unicellular and multicellular organisms were not given different ideas. So therefore this classification has got many drawbacks. Okay, and later another system of classification has emerged and it is proposed by other scientists. Okay, I shall write here regarding next classification, that is three kingdom systems of classification. Now let us see here three kingdom systems of classification. In three kingdom systems of classification, second one is three kingdom systems of classification. Okay, so this classification was proposed by Ernst Haeckel. Ernst Haeckel proposed this system of classification, and in which unicellular eukaryotic organisms were separated into another kingdom. He separated unicellular eukaryotic organisms were separated into another kingdom known as Protista. So in this way, Protista, three kingdoms were formed. Earlier there were two kingdoms, one is Plantae and another one is Animalia. And later Ernst Haeckel, he separated all unicellular eukaryotic organisms into a separate kingdom known as Protista. With the result of this, there were formation of three kingdoms. Okay, and afterwards, next again, later scientists, they proposed that, okay, like they proposed another kingdom that is nothing but a four kingdom system. So in this four kingdom system, it was proposed by a scientist known as Copeland, and he separated all unicellular prokaryotic organisms into a separate group, and they proposed a kingdom known as Monera. With the result of this, there were formation of a fourth kingdom. And similarly afterwards, next scientist known as R.H. Whittaker, he proposed another kingdom known as five kingdom systems of classification. Five kingdom systems of classification. Okay, it was proposed by scientist known as R.H. Whittaker. R.H. Whittaker in the year 1969, he proposed five kingdoms by the separation of fungi. Okay, they separated fungi into another kingdom, separate kingdom known as kingdom fungi. Okay, with the result of this, there were formation of a total five kingdoms. Earlier two kingdoms, next Protista third kingdom, Monera fourth kingdom, and another one is called as a kingdom fungi or mycota. With the result of this, there were formation of a five clear kingdoms into which all the organisms were placed. But what we can say here, the kingdoms of classification, after this five kingdom systems of classification, whether it is complete or still it needs, some of the organisms needs to be separated into other kingdom. That was the question. Still it is incomplete, and some of the organisms, some more organisms have to be placed into other kingdoms. Okay, anyway, now as per your syllabus, you have to study these five kingdom systems as per your syllabus. Okay, so now children, let us discuss these kingdoms, each one by one with their general characteristics. So now let us see what are the different five kingdoms. One is called as kingdom Monera, and another one is called as kingdom Protista, and the next one is kingdom fungi or mycota, and next one is kingdom Plantae, and another one is kingdom Animalia. So these are 5 different kingdoms as per your syllabus you have to study. Okay, so now we will discuss these 5 kingdom systems, and now what are the criteria which are followed by R.H. Whittaker for classification of living organisms into 5 different kingdoms. Let us see this. So this is also sometimes important from the point of examination. Okay, first criteria is cell structure. Cell structure. R.H. Whittaker, particularly R.H. Whittaker, what are the criteria he followed to divide, to classify all the living organisms into 5 different kingdom? One is the cell structure. Okay, you can understand this. What is the meaning of this cell structure? Cell structure is different in animals, cell structure is different in plants and in fungi, in bacteria. Okay, based on this he classified these kingdoms into 5 different groups. And another one is called thallus structure or thallus organization. Thallus organization, you know that very well. Thallus is nothing but okay, plant body. Generally we can call it as a plant body or undifferentiated plant body. The exact meaning of thallus is undifferentiated plant body, or otherwise we can say it is a plant body here in general. Okay, thallus organization. And another one is mode of nutrition. Mode of nutrition in organisms. What kind of nutrition is present? Nutrition is different from organism to organism. Okay, mode of nutrition. And another one is mode of reproduction. Reproduction is also different from organism to organism. This is also another criteria which is considered. Okay, next very important feature which is considered, criteria which is considered for the classification, that is phylogenetic relationship. Phylogenetic relationship between different organisms. All these are the characteristics or the criteria which are considered by R.H. Whittaker for dividing entire life, living world, living organisms into 5 different kingdoms. Okay, so in this way R.H. Whittaker classified living organisms into a different kingdom. Okay, students, let us understand 2.1 kingdom Monera. Kingdom Monera. So for PUC examinations this is very important for 5 marks or 3 marks, or otherwise important for every examinations, for all examinations which is important. Okay, everything is important even for NEET also. Okay, each and every point is important from the examination point of view. Kingdom Monera, here you have to understand about what are the salient features, important characteristic features, general characteristics of this Kingdom Monera. And another one is you have to understand about classification of bacteria into different groups and a classification of Kingdom Monera, useful and harmful effects of bacteria. So these are all different aspects you have to understand from this Kingdom Monera. Okay, so let us start one by one. Suppose if you get doubts, okay, and you can sometimes you can pose me a question also. Now let us see here salient features. Salient features or general characteristics of Kingdom Monera. It's the salient features. In the examination they may ask a question, write the salient features of Kingdom Monera, or write the salient features of Kingdom Monera, or general characteristics, like this they may ask a question. Then you have to write some of the important features which are common to the organisms which are included under this kingdom. Okay, now let us understand what are those salient features or general characteristics. Number 1, These are all just immediately when the Monera, the word you receive, you have to say that these are all unicellular. Unicellular. I have told you already in the previous classes, uni means one or single, and this body of these organisms are mainly made up of only one cell, unicellular. In addition to that, these are all prokaryotic organisms, unicellular prokaryotic organisms. Okay, so this prokaryotic means here these are the organisms which do not have well organized nucleus and membrane bound cell organelles are absent. Such organisms are called as prokaryotic organisms, so which you will study later in later classes, and these are the organisms where nucleus is not organized structure and which is not covered by a nuclear membrane. Nucleus is not covered by a nuclear membrane, and membrane bound cell organelles like mitochondria, Golgi complex, endoplasmic reticulum. Okay, these structures, these cell organelles are absent. Such organisms are called as prokaryotic organisms. Okay, so this kingdom includes unicellular prokaryotic organisms. So this is one very important characteristic feature you must know, and this characteristic will not be there for other kingdom, members of the other kingdom. And one more thing is, what are these unicellular and prokaryotic organisms? They mainly includes bacteria. It includes bacteria. So these are the bacteria are the major members, are the sole members of this kingdom. Okay, so which includes the major organisms, major contributors of this kingdom are this bacteria. Okay, now you know that very well, these bacteria, where these bacteria are present, how many bacteria are present. These bacteria are abundant microorganisms. Abundant microorganisms present in the earth, on the earth. So these are the abundant microorganisms which are present on the earth. So this is one. Regarding bacteria, you know that these bacteria are abundant microorganisms which are present on the earth. So like this, you have to understand some very important features of so this kingdom Monera. And another one is, okay, so these bacteria, since very interestingly, though they are prokaryotic organisms and microorganisms, they are able to survive, or they are able to live in different habitats. Okay, living place, they live in a different places, and that too in extreme habitats where other life forms cannot exist. There these bacteria can present. Okay, so like this, these are all some important characteristic features of kingdom Monera. Okay, now when we have understood about that bacteria are the major partners, major members of this kingdom Monera, now let us understand little bit about these bacteria only. Let us start to discuss about bacteria. Okay, you know that bacteria, and now classification of bacteria. Now let us understand classification of bacteria. When this kingdom includes mainly bacteria, we have to understand about bacteria, classification of bacteria. So these bacteria are classified into, there are no single bacteria. So I have already told you, these are the abundant microorganisms which are present on the earth. When they are abundant, definitely there are different types, so that we can classify them into different groups. Now these bacteria are classified into different types, mainly based on, one is based on the shape. Based on the shape, bacteria are classified into different types. Okay, bacteria are classified into different types based on their shape. One is called as a coccus. Okay, coccus type bacteria. So these are spherical shaped bacteria. Coccus means these are spherical shaped bacteria. Spherical shaped. And another one is, okay, spirillum. Spirillum bacteria, which are spring shaped bacteria. Spring shaped bacteria. Another one is called as a bacillus bacteria. Most common type bacillus bacteria. So which are rod shaped bacteria. And another one is called as a Vibrio. Vibrium or Vibrio. So these are comma shaped bacteria. Comma shaped bacteria. So like this we can classify bacteria into different types based on their shape. These are all technical words. In the examination sometimes we may get question for 2 marks. Classify bacteria based on their shape. So then you have to write coccus, spherical shaped, spirillum, spring shaped. Okay, bacillus, rod shaped, Vibrium, comma shaped. So these are very, very important from the point of examination for 2 marks for first PUC. Okay, in first PUC examinations, board examinations, they may ask this question, which is a very, very important one. And now let us understand, classification of bacteria based on their shape is over, and another one is classification of bacteria based on the mode of nutrition. Mode of nutrition. Based on the mode of nutrition. So here bacteria, now I am saying about the classification of the bacteria. Mode of nutrition, there are 2 different types. One is called as a autotrophic bacteria. Autotrophic bacteria, which means these are the bacteria which can prepare their own food. Which can prepare their own food. Which can prepare their own food are called as autotrophic bacteria. And another category is known as heterotrophic bacteria. Heterotrophic bacteria, these bacteria cannot prepare their own food, so that they depend upon other organisms for their food. And okay, they may be saprophytic or parasitic. Why they are saprophytic or parasitic? Since they cannot prepare their own food. Saprophytic means which depend upon dead and decaying organic matter for their food, and parasitic means which depends upon the living cells or living organisms. So just you can differentiate between these two. Here the bacteria depends upon the dead organism, here bacteria depends upon the live organisms. Okay, so for their food. And these are the classifications of bacteria, okay, based on their shape as well as based on their mode of nutrition. So like this we can classify only bacteria. Why we have classified bacteria? Because bacteria are the major groups of this kingdom Monera. Now after this, let us understand about classification of kingdom Monera. Classification of Monera. Okay, this kingdom is divided into, you know that very well, kingdom is divided into division or phylum. So here divisions are there. What are the different divisions or different classes? In the textbook it is mentioned classes. Okay, first one is, some bacteria are called as, okay, one is here kingdom Monera is divided into different classes. One is called as archaea or archaea bacteria. Archaea or archaea bacteria. Archaea bacteria. And another one is called as eubacteria. Okay, next one is called as eubacteria. And another one is called as cyanobacteria. So like this we can classify bacteria, or sorry, classify kingdom Monera into 3 different classes or divisions. Okay, archaebacteria. Now let us discuss about archaebacteria. So these archaebacteria are very primitive life forms. Okay, so these are the primitive life forms, primitive bacteria. So these are very primitive bacteria, and they are able to survive in extreme, they live in extreme conditions, extreme habitats. They live in extreme habitats. Extreme means where other forms of life will not survive, and such conditions are called as extreme life form, extreme habitats. Okay, so hot spring, okay, so this is one, and acidic condition. Okay, so in this way they live in extreme environmental conditions or in extreme habitats they are able to survive. Okay, just we can think here, these bacteria or archaebacteria are unicellular organisms, and they are prokaryotic organisms. Even then they are able to survive in extreme conditions, extreme environmental conditions. Okay, so that an imaginary one. Okay, and these archaebacteria are classified into different types of archaebacteria. Types of archaea. Simply you can say archaea also, that's also right. Okay, types of archaea. So based on the place, habitat where they live, so this archaebacteria can be classified into three different groups. One is called as halophils, and another one is called as thermoacidophils, and another one is called as methanogens. So like this we can classify archaea or archaebacteria into three groups. Halophils, halo means salt, phils means love, so that they live in a salty environment, salty area, they live in salty area. Okay, and thermo means temperature, acido means acidic medium, so that these are the archaebacteria which can survive in high temperature, very high temperature, that is nothing but hot springs. And these methanogens, they can live in marshy area, very important, they survive in marshy area. Okay, so this is important from the point of examination. And even they live in the stomach of a ruminant animals. Ruminant animals are called chewing animals. Okay, so where they are present and they are helpful in the digestion of a cellulosic material. Okay, for example, in case of a cattle, these are called as ruminant. Cattle is a ruminant animal, and these animals are called as ruminant because in their stomach they have a special chamber, rumen. Therefore, they are called as a ruminant, and where digestion of a cellulose takes place with the help of these bacteria. And these bacteria, they get excreted through the dung of the cattle. Therefore, they are present in the dung of ruminant animals, and they can produce a methane gas. Therefore, they are called as a methanogens. Okay, since they are able to produce a methane gas in the dung of a cattle, therefore they are called as a methanogens, and hence this dung of a cattle is used in the production of a biogas or gobar gas because of the presence of these bacteria. Okay, so like this we can classify archaebacteria into different types. And another one is called as eubacteria. You know that very well. Eubacteria means a true bacteria, and these bacteria have a rigid cell wall. So they have a cell wall. Rigid cell wall is present, and in the textbook it is not mentioned here. Cell wall is made up of a chemical substance known as murine. Cell wall is made up of a murine here. And another one is they may have flagella. Presence of flagella is not compulsory. If they are motile, they have flagella. So these are the two characteristics of this eubacteria. And when we come to the cyanobacteria, these cyanobacteria are very, very interesting organisms. They were the first photosynthetic organisms which were evolved on the earth. And photosynthetic organisms, these cyanobacteria are the photosynthetic organisms, and these are also called as blue-green algae. And since they are photosynthetic organisms, so what is required, what is primary requirement for the process of photosynthesis, that is chlorophyll pigment, so that they have chlorophyll A pigment which is similar to the chlorophyll A which is present in higher plants, so that they are able to synthesize on their own with the help of a sunlight. Just what you have to understand here, though it is the first cyanobacteria are the first photosynthetic organisms, they have evolved a chlorophyll A which is almost similar to the chlorophyll A which is present in the higher plants which are present today. Okay, so this is the okay, that is what we have to stress and we have to understand here. And these cyanobacteria, we can classify cyanobacteria into different types. Some cyanobacteria are photosynthetic and some are chemosynthetic also. Okay, in this you have to understand about photosynthetic autotrophs. Bacteria, photosynthetic autotrophic bacteria. Photosynthetic autotrophic bacteria means they have a chlorophyll A pigment and with help of that they can synthesize their own food material. Okay, and another one is called as a chemosynthetic autotrophs. Chemosynthetic autotrophic bacteria. It means what here? Here autotrophs means they can synthesize their own food with the help of a sunlight, therefore they are called as a photosynthetic autotrophic bacteria. And chemosynthetic autotrophic bacteria means here they will use some chemical substances like nitrate, nitrate and ammonia. Okay, and oxidation of these chemical substances, with the oxidation of these chemical substances, energy is released and that energy is used for the synthesis of their food. Okay, energy released from these oxidation of these chemical substances is used for the formation of energy, and these these bacteria can use these chemical substances, therefore they are called as a chemo means chemical. Okay, so like this we can classify. And in this photosynthetic autotrophic bacteria, you have to understand about the best example, that is cyanobacteria, that is nostoc and anabena. Nostoc is one and another one is called as a anabena. Okay, so these are two photosynthetic autotrophic cyanobacteria. Okay, and in these nostoc, particularly in nostoc, okay, these are all unicellular organisms. These are all unicellular organisms. Okay, like this these are all unicellular, and so these cells are called as vegetative cells. So these are called as vegetative cells. Okay, in this one cell is a little bit larger and remaining cells, so these are all called as vegetative cells. Unicellular and filamentous organisms, and now specific cell is called as a heterocyst. So heterocyst, and this cell is responsible for fixation of a atmospheric nitrogen. It fixes the atmospheric nitrogen. Okay, so specialized cell called as a heterocyst, which is responsible for synthesis of fixation of atmospheric nitrogen. And in this unicellular organisms, all the cells either they form a colony or they form a filament, and entire filament is covered by a gelatinous sheath. Okay, and this heterocyst is responsible for fixation of atmospheric nitrogen. Okay, so these are all classifications of bacteria. So in this way we can classify bacteria into classification of manure into different groups. Now let us understand about significance of bacteria. Significance of bacteria. In this we have to understand about useful aspects, of bacteria. Useful aspects of bacteria, and also harmful aspects of bacteria. Harmful aspects of bacteria. Okay, what are the uses of bacteria? Number one, you know that very well. curd which we eat, that is produced from the milk by the action of some bacteria only, so that they are helpful in the preparation of curd. Preparation of curd. Okay. So without bacteria, it's not possible to produce curd from the milk. Okay, that a kind of bacteria known as lactobacillus bacteria or lactic acid bacteria, which can convert milk into curd. So that bacteria are very much helpful in our day-to-day life, that is in the preparation of curd. And one more very advanced aspect, useful aspect of bacteria is it is a boon to the human society, that is bacteria are useful in the production of antibiotics. Antibiotics. Today we are able to cure different diseases with help of this antibiotics, that is the product of a different useful bacteria only. And another one is just as I told you, and some of the bacteria are useful in the fixation of a atmospheric nitrogen. They fix atmospheric nitrogen. Okay, there are bacteria like cyanobacteria, Nosta cannabina. Okay, and they are able to fix atmospheric nitrogen, so that makes soil enriched with nitrogen. So that process, by a process known as biological nitrogen fixation. So this is useful aspect. Next, when we come to the harmful aspects of bacteria, these bacteria are responsible for causing different diseases. Okay, they cause different diseases in man and also in plants. Man and plants. So now let us understand what are the bacterial diseases. Bacterial diseases in man. Okay, you should know a clear idea about this, and which is important from the point of examination. Okay, you just in the examination they may ask list some important bacterial diseases which are caused by bacteria. Okay, the main disease is cholera. You know that very well. Cholera is caused by bacteria, and another one is tetanus. Tetanus is a bacteria which is caused by bacteria only, and another one is called as a typhoid. Still there are enormous number of bacterial diseases or diseases which are caused by bacteria, but as per your syllabus you have to understand these three different diseases which are caused by bacteria: cholera, tetanus and typhoid. Similarly, bacterial disease in plant. Bacterial diseases or disease, as per your syllabus you have to understand one disease in plants. Bacterial disease in plants. Okay, that is example is citrus canker disease. Citrus canker disease of citrus plant. Okay, so there is a formation of a cankers when this bacteria infects to the citrus plant, and that that bacteria is called as a Xanthomonas citri, which is not there in the textbook. Xanthomonas citri. Xanthomonas citri is the bacteria which can cause so this disease, citrus canker disease. Okay, this is the causative organism for this citrus canker disease. So like this, bacteria are both useful as well as harmful to the mankind. Okay, and now let us understand besides these bacteria, and we have one more group of microorganisms which are included under kingdom Monera, and they are called as mycoplasma. Mycoplasma. There are different species of mycoplasma, and here what you have to understand about these mycoplasma. These mycoplasma are the smallest non-living cell. Smallest living cells known today. There are no life forms or cells smaller than this mycoplasma. These are the smallest living cells known. And another one is these organisms, they do not have cell wall. They lack cell wall. No cell wall is present. No cell wall is present for these mycoplasma. And another interesting fact is they survive even without oxygen. They survive without oxygen. Okay, and even they are parasitic also. They are parasitic organisms in some other organisms. Okay, so these are all some important features of this mycoplasma. Okay, so parasitic, once I said parasitic, they are parasitic particularly on birds. A species called as Mycoplasma gallisepticum. Mycoplasma gallisepticum is a microorganism, or this mycoplasma, which can cause disease in case of a poultry or in birds. Okay, so thank you very much, children. With this, your 2.1 that is Kingdom Monera is over, and let us move to in the next class. We'll move to next content of your second lesson, that is 2.2, that is Kingdom, next Kingdom.